Hi friends, welcome. My name is Mrs. Googe and I am a second grade teacher at Bluegrass Elementary. Today I am so excited to work with you guys again. We are going to recap or revisit the text that we worked together to read and take a look at last week. Today we're going to dive a little bit deeper and we're going to look at my response to the prompt or the text and make sure that it has everything that a good second grade writing piece should have. So if you're ready, we will get started. We are working in Unit 4 and we are working in our sleuth books. Remember, a sleuth is someone who works to solve a mystery, kind of like a detective. There are 4 things that a good sleuth does, which is also something that a good reader does. So it goes hand in hand. The first thing we need to do as a sleuth and as a good reader is to look for clues in our text. These clues can be in the text itself, or they can be in the text features surrounding the text, or in the pictures and illustrations also that are paired with the text. Number 2, we need to ask questions. This is something a good reader does. As you're reading and you're thinking about questions that you may be curious about and you want to know more to answer your question, you ask those questions and you can write them down. As we gather facts and continue reading, hopefully our questions will be answered. Number 3, we're going to make our case. And this is when we take all of the facts and details that we've gathered through reading and looking at the text, and we kind of form an opinion about whatever we're trying to answer or have an idea of what the answer may be. Number 4, we need to prove it, and this is when we take all of those facts and details that we've gathered and we answer the question we were hoping to answer using that proof or those details to solidify or support our writing or answers. Okay, so we're going to continue to do those 4 things today as we reread or read again the same text we were looking at last week. We have 2 purposes for reading. The first one is the one that stays with us all unit long. It's that big unit essential question, what we are working to answer all throughout this unit. So our question for this unit is, or essential question is, how can familiar things help us with change? So things that are familiar to us are things we're used to seeing. They're not new. They are, like I said, we're used to seeing them and they shouldn't catch us by surprise. And we're looking at how can those things help us when things around us are changing? How can they help us deal with that change? Our purpose for rereading today and our job, so to speak, is to take a look at my response to text, and then I'm going to challenge you to do the same thing at the end when we're finished. Okay, so here is the text that we worked together to read last week. We're going to reread it or read it again, and then we will stop at the end and talk about that big unit essential question and any other questions we may have. So if you will read along with me, please, and then we'll stop and talk. Here we go. The blank book. Elias's dad was in the army. He was leaving home to be stationed in another country. As he said goodbye, Dad gave Elias a book. I want you to read this when you get home, Dad said. Elias didn't feel like reading, but he opened the book anyway. And what a surprise! Every page was blank except the first one. There, Dad explained that they would take turns writing in the book, mailing it back and forth while Dad was gone. Elias began writing immediately, telling his dad how much he missed him, and then he mailed the book. 3 weeks later, the book came back. Dad wrote about a market he had visited. He described the sharp, spicy smells and bright, patterned carpets. He described the warm, buttery bread he tried. Elias and his dad wrote often. Dad described what life was like on the base. Sometimes he invented silly stories or drew neat pictures. Elias wrote about home and school. He drew colorful pictures. They had to get another book before long, and then another. When Dad came home, he had a new book with him. I thought we could keep going, Dad said, grinning. Elias nodded. This was definitely a tradition he wanted to keep. Okay, so let's think about that big unit essential question. How can familiar things help us with change? So, what was the change that happened in our characters' lives throughout our story? At first, Elias and his dad lived together, and then because of his dad's job, things changed. He had to move away for a bit and stay on a military base. While he was away, that change could have been really difficult and probably was difficult for Elias, but something helped him deal with the change and helped him get through the change. Do you know what that something is? That familiar something? Although he couldn't communicate with his dad the way you and I are communicating right now, talking sort of face to face, they communicated in a different way. How did they communicate? They used that book, right? They wrote back and forth and they got to see each other's handwriting and colorful pictures and silly stories. And I think that that familiar book or familiar handwriting helped them get through that change. Okay, so last week I challenged you guys to write about how you would choose to communicate with a friend or a family member who is far away. I'm going to show you what my response to the prompt was. And then I want you guys to help me make sure that I have everything that a good second grade writing piece should include. Okay, so here's that question or prompt again. How would you communicate with friends and family who are far away? I'm going to read my writing response the whole way through, and then we're going to go back together and make sure I have everything I need. The best way to communicate with friends and family who are far away is through writing letters. Writing letters to loved ones allows you to be creative in the way you communicate. You can add pictures and details to your letter, just like Elias and his dad did. Seeing your friend or family member's handwriting makes the letter feel more personal, and it can be kept as a memory. Although there are many ways to communicate, an old-fashioned handwritten letter is hard to beat. Okay, so like we talked about last time, our responses do not have to be the same because you may not feel the same way that I do, and that's okay. This is how I think I would communicate with friends and family, and I explained why it was special to me or why it would be special to me. So now I want us to dive even deeper into my response, and we are going to make sure that it has all of the things that a good second grade writing piece should have. Does it have everything it needs? We need these big three things that all writing pieces should have. And we should know this as second graders. Of course, we're going to start with that topic sentence. The topic sentence introduces your writing and it tells your reader exactly what they're going to be reading about or what you're going to be teaching or sharing with them. Number two, this is really important. You need these details. They can be details from the text that you read, or they can be details that are relevant or on topic to what you're writing. Either way, they're going to support and build up your writing to help your answer or response make sense. And then finally, at the very end, you must conclude or end your writing with a conclusion sentence. And I like to say that it is just like wrapping your writing up with a big, beautiful bow. So now let's take another look at my response to text. And I want you guys to help me make sure that I have everything I need in there, those big three things. So I'm going to start reading, and we're going to be looking for the topic sentence first. So when you hear my topic sentence, I want you to yell, "Stop!" Okay, are you ready? The best way to communicate with friends and family who are far away is through writing letters. Stop! There's my topic sentence. It introduces what I'm writing about, and my reader should know exactly what to expect. Now we're going to continue and look for that second important thing, those relevant details or details from the text. Now this is a little bit different. Whereas a topic sentence usually is just one sentence in second grade, details, they can be multiple, or there can be multiple sentences, multiple details to support my writing. So even though you may hear one detail, I want you to listen until you think that it changes. When you think that you've heard all of my details to support my writing, I want you to yell, stop. Okay, here we go. Writing letters to loved ones allows you to be creative in the way you communicate. You can add pictures and details to your letter, just like Elias and his dad did. Seeing your friend or family member's handwriting makes the letter feel more personal, and it can be kept as a memory. Stop! So did you hear and see that I have multiple details? They're from the text, or they are relevant or on topic, and they support my writing. Now we're going to look for the thing that goes at the end, to the big bow, so to speak, in our writing. We are going to look for that conclusion sentence that concludes or ends my writing piece. So when you hear the end of my conclusion sentence, if I have one, I want you to yell, stop. Are you ready? Although there are many ways to communicate, an old-fashioned handwritten letter is hard to beat. Stop. There is my third big thing that we need to include, that conclusion sentence. It wraps up my writing beautifully and lets my reader know that I'm finished sharing with them. So did I have those big three things, that topic sentence? Yes. Did I have relevant details or details from the text? Yes. And then did I have that conclusion sentence at the end? Absolutely. So now it's going to be your turn. I want you guys to reread or to read again, read your response to the text and see if you have those big three things that all second grade writing pieces should have. You're going to reread and look for that. Number one, topic sentence. You're going to look for the details in the text or details from the text that support your writing. And then you're going to look for that conclusion sentence. Now, here's my suggestion or my challenge to you. Whenever I am editing or checking over my own writing to make sure that it has everything it needs and that I'm not missing or leaving behind any silly mistakes, I like to read it out loud, because our ears are a really valuable tool that we don't even realize are helping us check our work. When you're listening to yourself reading your writing out loud, your ears are usually able to stop your brain and say, wait a second, that didn't sound right, there was a mistake. So just like I read my writing out loud, I want you guys to do the same. If you would like, you can choose 3 different colors, kind of like I did, but you're going to choose something like a crayon or a marker or a pencil or whatever you have available at home. While you're rereading, I want you to either highlight or underline your topic sentence in one color. You can do the same for your details in a different color, and then your conclusion sentence can be in a different color. This helps you visually use your eyes and see if you have everything that you need in your writing piece. Now, while you're doing that, you're going to use those ears like I mentioned, and you're going to be listening and using your eyes to look for these things that all second grade writing pieces should have. We should, of course, have punctuation that's used correctly. We should have finger spaces in our handwriting. We should have neat handwriting. And then we need our best second grade spelling. So if you're unsure of how to spell something and you just don't know off of the top of your head, then you can always use your sounds and sound it out, or use resources around you. Now, if you're still not sure, that's okay. We are learning, but I want you to make sure you did your very best to spell everything that you know how to spell and use your very best handwriting, and you're practicing all of those skills just like we do in our regular classrooms. Okay, so there's my challenge to you. I want to thank you all very much for spending time with me today, and I am looking forward to working with you again. Until I see you again, I hope that you all stay safe and happy and healthy, and that you are practicing writing like professional little second graders. Thanks again, and have a great day.